Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Life Law Bin. Hi everybody, welcome back to Life Law BIM. Today I have with me Miss Heather Walker. She pursued law, both the practical and the theoretical side of law in the UK. And when she completed her studies here, she returned to Barbados, specifically Trinidad, to do her conversion course. And she is an attorney now, having been called at the Bar of England and Wales and Trinidad specifically, and she's practicing in Barbados. Now, we're going to speak to her about her experience, her legal experience so far. But Heather, we're going to start at the beginning. Why did you choose law?
Well, let's see. You know how some people say that they always wanted to do law? That, unfortunately, was not me. I hit sixth form and I had a choice as to what subjects I would like to do. And I thought, I loved history. I really enjoyed accounts and that sort of stuff. And I thought, let's give law a try for 2 years and see if I like it before I actually decide to do it in a 3-year degree in it. And I have to credit Miss Wells Graves at QC. She's such a good teacher and she really introduced me to the subject. And I think she's the reason that I actually really enjoy it. Also, I really enjoy law itself, but it always helps to have a really enthusiastic and a great teacher who starts you off with the foundations. So that's really kind of how I fell into law.
I actually have to corroborate your statements there about Mrs. Wells Graves. She taught me in sixth form and she was absolutely fantastic. Phenomenal, actually, should be the word. She was very enthusiastic and very passionate. And
Yeah.
definitely, if there was any dwindling doubt about law, she erased that for me. So our next question would be, how did you choose, what factors did you consider when deciding to choose to study law, especially in the UK?
As I said, I really enjoyed it. In terms of choosing choosing the UK over maybe like UE or going to the US and Canada, people suggested that I try the US. My issue with the US is how long it takes, and that you have to do a first degree, a 4-year first degree, and then you have to do law school. So I really wasn't too keen on that one. I was given the opportunity to study overseas, and I gravitated towards the UK, because I had been there a few times over my life and had really enjoyed it. And, when I started researching the universities, it was just a really good opportunity that I couldn't really say no to. That said, I would have been very happy to have gone UE as well, if the circumstances had been that as well, because UE is a fantastic law school as well. But yeah, I started researching universities in the UK. I decided that I did not want to be in London because there are so many Bajans and Caribbean people in London. So I just said, if I'm leaving Barbados, I want to, experience the UK lifestyle. I don't really want to have anybody around me that I know. Because, when you leave home, you cling to comfort. And you cling to that comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So I started researching like outside of London. I looked at Cardiff. I looked at Kent, I think. But again, same issue. Too many Bajans, too many Caribbean people. And then I looked up north, and I actually got the opportunity to go up to the UK. And I'll never forget the day that I toured Leeds specifically, because that's where I ended up going in the end. It was rainy, miserable, cold, and I'm still walking around the campus thinking, oh my God, I would love to study here. And, sitting down afterwards, reflecting on it, and the law school itself is amazing. I think it's now ranked in the top 10 in the UK. And the tutors I met with that day were lovely. They were very welcoming, friendly. They had nothing but good things to say about the law school. And that really just cemented my choice. Leeds is such a nice city. The university itself is in the city, which is nice because actually a campus university in the city, which is a bit different from most city universities, which I really liked. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't go wrong with that one. Not in London, up north in Yorkshire where it's gorgeous, an excellent law school. The campus is amazing. The housing options were brilliant. it's cheaper than London, albeit not cheap. So that's kind of how I decided on Leeds. And honestly, I can't say that I had any regrets.
So specifically, what was the name of the university you pursued your LLB with?
So it's the University of Leeds is the name. And then obviously more specifically, the law school at the University of Leeds.
Okay, okay. That's just for clarity for any of our viewers interested in pursuing law here in Leeds. Now, while you were pursuing your LLB at the University of Leeds, were there any extracurricular activities that you participated in?
Yeah, on the law side of things, I did mooting in my second year, I believe it was, a mooting competition. I think I made it to the quarterfinals or semifinals, but it make it to the finals. But it was win or lose. It was such a good experience, and it's a great opportunity to practice some advocacy. It's a great opportunity to have to work with somebody else. Both my partner and myself, we had never done mooting before, so it was really a very interesting experience to do something new. Outside of like the law side of things, I worked as a student ambassador for 2 years. That's just kind of like showing people around on open days and kind of like giving your experience at the university. And then in my first year and second term, I joined the Kickboxing and Krav Maga Society. That was cool. I think that was definitely one of the best things that I ever did. It's a good stress relief. I'd never done anything like it before, and it's such a big society, but it's such a welcoming society. And it introduced me to people that I would never have met, people that I still speak with to this day, like lifelong friends. And it's a good fit, it's a good workout, it's a good stress reliever. When you had a bad week and you go in there, you gotta punch someone, and it's all legal. You can't really ask for much more. I did up to my yellow orange. I got up to my red belt. And I haven't kept it up since, but I really want to start back and go higher. But I would definitely say that when you're at university, regardless of where you go at university, you should always pick up an extracurricular activity. It's a good break physically as well as mentally. Studying law isn't easy, so extracurriculars help you to take your mind off that for a little bit, help you meet new people. I think everybody should at least pick up one.
That's true. Given that, well, we know that you remained in Leeds after you pursued your LLB, and you went on to pursue the bar course within Leeds, obviously at the University of Law. Could you share with us a brief overview of your experience pursuing the bar course?
In a word, the bar course is hard. It's like going full steam ahead for 9 full months, and they do warn you, but I don't think anything can really prepare you fully. It is quite a big jump, I found, from going from third year of a law degree into that. That said, it was also very rewarding. You get to see the more practical side of things. So 3 years before that, you apply the theory to scenarios, but it's still more the academic side of things. You hit the bar course and it's all of a sudden very practical. You're learning about drafting, you're learning about opinion writing, and a lot of it is self-taught. So yes, for the university, for your law degree, a lot of it is still self-taught. When you hit the bar course, there are no lectures. You go away, you do the prep, you do the reading, and then you sit down in certainly at my camp at my school in Leeds, it was very small. So I think there were only like 10, 11 of us in a class. And, you would sit down and you would discuss, you would go through the prepared questions and exercises. And, it was really good that way, in that everybody pushed each other. People in my group, they always say that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I can safely say I never felt like the smartest person in that room, and everybody's so willing to help each other, which is good, because when you think about how many subjects you do over the space of a very short space of time, there were nights where you didn't sleep. At one point, I think it was February, just before we had a whole slate of exams, all of us were in the library and someone came in and said, y'all look half dead. But, it's just, you're constantly going. There's never really a moment where you don't, where you can think to yourself and you say, oh, I don't have anything to do. There's always a prep, there's always a review, there's, and then you also have the advocacy side of things. So like, for example, there's conferencing, which, teaches you how to, ask the correct questions of a client, interact with client management. I mean, you have examination in chief and cross-examination, and then you have civil advocacy. So, there's never a dull moment on the course, but it is hard. It's a lot. And I think one of the things that if you haven't learned at that point, it definitely teaches you time management, because you can never afford to fall behind, because there's never a spare moment to catch up. So, but it is rewarding. When I look back on it, I always say I don't ever want to do it again. But it was definitely character building.
Heather, I feel like everything you have said right now, I'm going through. It is the most grueling experience so far, and I am actually going in now to week 5, and I feel like I've been here now for a year. That's how much work has been covered within just 5 weeks. It's absolutely grueling, and I know I would have contacted you before the course started and you warned me, but disclaimer, I feel like no warning could even prep you for, as we would say, the breakneck speed that they're about to throw you into,
Honestly.
It can be very overwhelming and it can be very stressful. And I feel like it's easy to just have a breakdown and just be like, this is too much.
For sure.
How
many times we used to ask ourselves, like, why are we doing this to ourselves? There's so many easier things you could be doing, or with a law degree, you might not be able to do law, but you can do so many things with a law degree. We're like, why are we out here paying to be tortured? We could be out in the world working, doing something. But at the end of the day, it all pays off.
Well, I know myself and my course mates. It is a class of about 11 of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just holding on and hanging in there, because I feel like that's all you can do at this point in time, because we've come so far. And I just feel like at this point, you just have to hold on to make it through. And I know for sure that by the time this year finishes, I will be able to say without a doubt the same statement you made, which is, it's a very rewarding year, but I would not want to redo it.
It's not something, it's definitely not something that you'd willingly redo.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about you, but certainly my tutors, they were all so helpful, and their door was always open.
Yeah.
As I said, you don't really have time to really stop and think, but they're always there and willing to, answer questions and give you little tips and go, if you don't understand something, go through it. They really appreciate it if you can show that, you've tried, you've put in the work, and even if you don't grasp something, if they can see that you've tried, they're so willing to sit down and go through it with you. And I think the best part about it is that they've all practiced. So, like, for example, the course leader, I should say, she had practiced in civil litigation for I think like 6-7 years before she came over to teach. So she knew how it works in practice. Same for pretty much everybody else. Everybody else had practiced, or some of them, I don't know how they managed it, were still practicing while teaching us. And then of course the university organized like talks and stuff like that to like bring in practicing barristers who could, give you tips and kind of speak about their day-to-day, although they'll tell you that no one day is the same. And they kind of gave you an insight into how the profession works. So that was actually really good as well. We had quite a few career events.
I think the quality seems to be still the same in terms of very superior quality. Same thing that you're explaining has been my experience so far. The tutors are absolutely willing to help, and it's basically an open door policy. So Heather, congratulations, you finished the bar course successfully. And obviously that's not an achievement to be taken lightly. That's absolutely fantastic. And you returned home. So when you returned home immediately, what were you thinking regarding your next steps in law?
Well, honestly, when I returned home, I said I needed a break. There was no way that I was going straight into Hugh Wooding. So I actually took a year out after I came home, and I worked for a year, the law firm here. And that was really good in that I could see how it works at home, and I kind of got a little insight. I think also you don't get to see everything, but it was very nice in the fact that and I got my foot in the door somewhere. And then obviously I knew that I had to go to Hugh Wooding for 6 months at some point. So it actually gave me time to get my application prepared, and you know pull answers from them on like what they're looking for, and getting clarification on things to make sure that my application's fine. But yeah, and they always say that you don't watch what other people do and compare yourself to them. So at first I was worried, what will happen if I take a year out? Is it really gonna is it gonna hinder me? Is it going to be a good thing? Because I knew quite a few people who went straight from the bar year into Hugh Wooding, or into the 6 months transitional. But I would say everybody takes their own route, and I have no regrets of taking a year out. And I was also lucky enough, as I said, to work with a law firm, so it gave me an opportunity to get a little bit of insight into how things work, and a little bit of experience, which always looks good on a CV, when you're applying for jobs.
Yeah. So having been called to the bar in England and Wales, and obviously having the experience of completing the bar course, did you find that the information that you grasped in England assisted when you went to pursue the conversion course in Trinidad?
Oh, for sure. Um, we're still very much based off of the UK system, and so a lot of it is very familiar. I mean, like very, very familiar. And I would definitely say it helped. There are obviously a few minor things, that idiosyncrasies that kind of creep in, that are different, that we do things differently down here than up there. But honestly, I would say that that's not the difficult aspect of things I found, transitioning from the UK to the Caribbean.
So would you, if you had to describe your experience in two sentences in Trinidad, what would that be like for you?
Am I allowed to say carnival? Because that was a good part.
Of course.
My experience in Trinidad, different in that the culture itself is different, and I would say interesting, because part of the transitional course is that you do a placement with a chambers or a firm, or basically a practicing attorney. I think it's more than 5 or 10 years called. So I worked with a firm in Port of Spain, and that was really interesting. I got to go to court. I got to their legal system is a lot more efficient than ours is. Things happen, and just listening to the level of advocacy, whether it was attorneys from my firm or another firm, listening to the judges, their interventions, it was really, 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 I can't complain. I thought it was a really good experience. And then also, doing the work within the firm, the research you got to do. I did quite a lot of work for the property department. That was the challenging part. Trinidad's property system is so different to ours, and even the UK's. And just kind of grasping my head around that. And when you think you have understood it, and you go to your attorney, and they're like, okay, that's how it works in the UK. That's not how it works down here. But it was really good in that it opened my eyes, and it helps you develop more research skills, which you always need in this profession.
In terms of the content of the course itself, did you find that it was very, very difficult, or did you think it was manageable? How would you describe that?
I found it manageable in that we didn't really have that many exams. So we had exams, I think it was for constitutional and another course, which were okay. And those came quite early on at the end of the first term. And then after that, you had your modules, and we had like assignments to hand in. But I would certainly after coming off the bar course, I would say it's manageable. It's certainly not at the same rate and pressure of the bar course in the UK.
Okay. And when you, in terms of living, the experience of living in Trinidad, because I know some people, depending on their work or what they do in Barbados, they may fly down weekly. Did you decide to fly or
Oh no,
just
can't
stay?
afford that one.
Okay.
I stayed in Trinidad for these 6 months. Well, came home for Christmas, but I lived in Trinidad.
Okay. And how was the search for accommodation and housing?
I got quite lucky in that we have family friends in Trinidad, so I just stayed with them. But from what I heard from other people, it wasn't that hard. It kind of just depends on what your budget is, where you want to live. I think the university helps somebody. I think not Hugh Wooding, UE helps somebody with accommodation, if I remember correctly. And there's quite a lot of accommodation around Hugh Wooding in that area as well. So from what I heard, it wasn't difficult to find
Okay.
accommodation.
So do students on the transitional course, that 6 months course, interact with students that are full-time for the 2 years?
We do. People who have to do the entrance examination to get into the 2 years, they also do constitutional and what was that other? Constitutional and oh my gosh, I can't remember what the second course was that we did in first term, but they have to do that as well. So we were all together in one class. Other than that, we don't really share classes with the full 2-year program students. I mean, obviously you see them, the school isn't very big, but they always make the joke that they never know who we are because we're only in Mondays and Tuesdays. And so, you see them in the dining hall, you see them around school and whatnot. But I guess unless you really go out of your way, or if you maybe, like I knew some people who were on the 2-year program, so I kind of met more people through that. But it's kind of a bit separated in that, we're kind of focused on our work. They're focused on their work. We're only there for 2 days of the week. So.
Fair enough. As it relates now to adjusting from being a law student to a lawyer, how difficult was that?
So far, so good. I think my year in working kind of helped me adjust in that, there's no summer vacation, there's no Christmas vacation, you're at work Monday to Friday, basically every week. Client management is a new thing for me in that, you now have your own clients that, you're dealing with every day, day in and out, and getting the work done. Other than that, so far, because I've only been working full-time since May, so far it's been okay. There are long nights, like there were on both the law degree and the bar course and Hugh Wooding. Some days are easier than others. I would say pretty much every day something new gets put on my desk and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but you figure it out. And yeah, so far so good. I can't say that the transition has been an awful one so far. You kind of just adapt, and that's one thing that I think your degree, the bar course, and if you go on to Hugh Wooding, it teaches you to adapt to the level of difficulty, to circumstances, to people. So I think you kind of just keep adapting when you start to work full time.
Well, Heather, I feel as though, I know from a law student's perspective that this conversation was very enlightening. I really quite enjoyed it myself, and I just want to express sincere thanks for coming and sharing this information. I always believe that knowledge is something that should be shared, and I think it's very beneficial for myself and those who do view this episode. So I just want to say thank you for coming and sharing this information at this time.
Of course. I mean, I hope it's helpful for somebody. I'm glad you had a great time chatting with me. If you can, it's always nice to give back, and if my experience can help somebody else, make a decision as to what they want to do. I mean, you can find me on social media. You're welcome to send me a message. I'm not the fastest at responding, I will admit that, but I will get back to you at some point.
Okay, thanks a lot, Heather. Thanks again for coming. And to all my viewers, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.